Hey kids, so today I'm going to show you how to change your car's engine filter. Different from a cabin filter, but this is the one that's in your engine. Might be a little different on your vehicle, but this is how you do it on mine. But first, I have a dad joke for you. Did you know that Marty McFly didn't really drive his DeLorean very often? Yeah, you might say he drove it from time to time. Okay, let's locate the engine's air filter, and it should be something like this. Here it is on mine. There are 4 clips located here, 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 and here. Then I have a screw that I'm going to loosen to remove that hose that's attached to it. So I open the clips, 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the back side. Now I'm going to loosen the clamp that's holding that hose on. You could probably get by without that and just kind of lift it up, but I thought this was easier. Just go ahead and loosen that clamp and then remove the hose. Now we just lift off the cover, and there's our filter. Now let's go ahead and remove it. And you can see it's a little bit dirty, and just pay attention to which way it's facing. Sometimes there's a notch on it to show you which way it's facing, but in this case it's just a rectangle, so it's pretty easy. And then just go ahead and put the new one back in. Make sure it's seated good down in there, and then we're just going to replace the cover, do just the opposite of how we removed it. So I'd put that hose on first, go ahead and attach that, make sure that's good, and then you can just adjust it to get it seated properly so that the clips can clamp back on. We'll go ahead and clamp those back on, and that'll force it back down. You might have to wiggle it a little bit to get it to seat properly. And then just go ahead and we'll screw that clamp back on to make sure that hose is good and tight. And you're good to go. First thing you want to do is locate the positive and the negative. You want to disconnect the negative. The positive will be red or have a plus sign on it, and the negative will be black or a minus symbol. So you want to disconnect that one first. I'm using a 10mm socket, which is pretty common for this particular task. Now we're going to disconnect the positive, now that the negative's disconnected, so we just disconnect the positive. My battery had this insulating cover that just was around it. Maybe that helped with the life of the battery, I'm not sure. Your battery will be held in place somehow, and so this has got this little tie down at the bottom here. See that? So there's just a little bolt on it that I'm going to have to loosen to lift that out of there. To get down in there, I actually needed 2 extensions. So I have a shorter extension and a longer extension to be able to get all the way down there. And I just loosen that up. This was a 12mm socket for that bolt. And once you loosen it with the wrench, you can just spin it by hand to remove it the rest of the way. And then I pull that clip out of there, and just make sure you put this someplace where you can find it, right? It's easy to get excited and get into the job and then you forget where you put the stuff. So set it somewhere obvious so you know where to find it when you need to put it back. I like the design of this tie down. You just slide the battery forward then, so it's clipped on the back just by you sliding it back there. And then so you slide it forward and pull it out. So we'll go ahead and get the battery up here. You can see there's covers on the battery terminals, right? So you're going to end up removing those. I have seen memes showing those things still on, and so you got to make sure to remove those, but we don't need to remove them just yet. Let's get the battery in place first. Make sure you're putting the battery back in the correct way, right? You're going ahead and have the positive side on the left side, just like you removed it, and the negative side on the right side. I'm just checking to make sure it fits, but we still need to actually put that insulator back on. So we need to have that. Make sure you have the cutout on the bottom, right? So that allows for those clips that are going to hold the battery in. That's why those cutouts are there. And then there's a cutout on that other side. I'm not sure why that's there, maybe to make room for the positive side, but you don't really need that. So anyway, so we're going to slip that down, and then we can go ahead and slide it back. Okay, so now it's in place, and then we just got to put that other clip back in. We're just going to go ahead and you see your hole down there, so you know what you're doing. Put that clip down in there, because you're going to have to kind of feel for it as you're putting the bolt back in. You want to kind of feel for that bottom hole. It might take a little bit to get it started, and then once you get it started, you can go ahead and use your ratchet and tighten it all the way down. Okay, so we want to connect the positive first. So your red one right there, you got to remove that red cap. Let's remove that, and then we'll go ahead and connect the positive, right? Just the opposite of how we removed it, right? When we removed it, we removed the negative, and we removed the positive second. Now we're putting the positive back on, and then we put the negative on last. Make sure it's seated down in there good, and this one has a cap that might fall off like that. That's okay, just snap it back on, and then it'll cover back over the top. But before we do that, we want to just tighten it down. So make sure it's a good connection there, right? And then tighten it back up. Don't over tighten this, but you want to make sure it's snug so that it holds. Now we're going to attach the negative. You got to just make sure to remove that plastic cover first, right? You don't want to leave that on, otherwise you won't have good connections. You got to remove that, and then we're going to go ahead and attach it. And basically what we did with the positive side, we're going to put that down in there and then tighten it up good. And that's all there is to it.
Okay, so the first thing we want to look at, if you left your lights on and you know it's just your battery just needs to be charged, but if there was nothing that you weren't sure what exactly happened, then really you just want to look at the connections, right? So it could be, because a lot of times if you don't pay attention to your engine, these connections can be horrible, okay? Mine are pretty clean, and I'm pretty sure actually in my case, my battery's its life has just run out. But as you can see, my connections are good. There's no corrosion here, but a lot of times when you lift this up, there'll be a lot of corrosion. And that's what this tool's for, okay? This cleans the post. You just stick it on the post and twist it around, and then this fits up inside that connector to clean that out. Okay, so we're at the dead battery, right? That's where we start. And an easy way to remember this is red, dead. So we're gonna connect the red to the red on the dead battery, okay? But before you even do that, you wanna look for a place that you're gonna put the black one, that's a ground. You would think it would go here, but that's actually what everybody's scared of, because that can cause a spark when you actually connect that, if you connected it to here. I used to do that when I was younger. I never had a problem, but just for safety reasons, we want to connect the black to a ground. In newer vehicles, I think there's an obvious place where a ground is, but you want an unpainted surface that is a ground. And to be honest with you, the best one I'm seeing is this, right? That little nut right there is a ground that I'm going to use, okay? So we're going to go ahead and connect. We'll just leave the black, and we want to connect the red to the dead. Okay, this battery's dead. There's really nothing going on. This is just sitting here. Okay, we're going to go over to the other car, the car with the good battery, and I'll show you what we do there. Okay, so now we're at the car with the good battery, and we go ahead and connect those. And we connect the red to the red terminal. Okay, and you can just put it right on there. That's good. And make sure that this is clean too, right? So we're getting good connections. Make sure you get a good connection. So now we're back at the dead vehicle's battery. And like I said, you'd think you'd connect it there to the negative, but you're actually not, because there can cause a spark. And if there's some gases, it could cause, you want to connect this to that ground that we talked about, okay? So right here, connecting it to that. Make sure you get a good connection. Okay, so we're back in the car with the good battery. We're just going to go ahead and start it up, okay? Okay, and so depending on how dead that other battery is, you might need to let this run for a couple minutes. And you could even, especially if you're working with two people, they could rev the engine while you go ahead and try to start that other car, okay? And then also when you're in this car, make sure everything's off. No heater, no radio, nothing. We just want to have all the juice going to the dead car's battery. Okay, so we're back in the van, the one with the dead battery, and we're just going to go ahead and give it a shot. The other car's been running for about a minute or two, and we're just going to go ahead and give it a shot. Okay. Well, it didn't start the first time. Let's try it again. There we go. It's running. Okay, so in my case, I think my battery is just over its lifespan. They usually last, it depends on the quality of the battery, anywhere from 6 to 12 years, really depends. But what you would normally do, if you just left your lights on and you know that it was just that and that's why the battery was dead, now you would want to drive around, drive your vehicle for 10, 15 minutes, and then, don't go too far in case you have to, if you park somewhere, then you may need to jump again, right? So just be smart about that. Drive around for like 10 or 15 minutes, come back to where you have a good vehicle, and then you can go ahead and turn it off and see if it starts back up. So now that this is running, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to take the cables back off. Okay, so now we're just gonna remove everything just the opposite of what we did before, okay? So you're gonna remove this. Okay, we took that off. And really, you could just go ahead and remove this right now if you wanted to. The only tricky part is you just want to make sure that the ends don't touch. So just to be safe, we're just going to set this here, and you just want to set it somewhere where it's not setting on anything metal. Okay, so we're back at the good vehicle battery, and we're just going to remove it. Like I said, just the exact opposite of we put things on. We're taking off the negative. Now nothing's going to spark, right? There's nothing. Just the two reds are connected, but then just remove that. Okay, now there's nothing. There's no spark because that thing's only connected to the red on the other side. So nothing to be scared of there. Okay, let's go back over to the other vehicle. Okay, so this is the last step. We're just pulling this red off of here, right? We want to remove that. And then actually I did put that other cap back on the positive. You always want to put that back on. We'll do that on the other one. Make sure when you go ahead and remove the cables from the good car that you put it back how it was when you started. So if we look down here, right, this cap just needs to go back on top of here because that protects the corrosion, and you just want to make sure that that's going to stay good for a long time for you. Okay, first we need to actually open the hood, and that's usually somewhere right over here. It could be up underneath your dash somewhere along here, but this one is right here, and I just popped that. So now once it's popped like this, there's a safety latch here, and you just got to feel around for the safety latch. I found that they're usually on the left side of the car, so you feel around for it, and I can feel it right there. Here it is. So that's it right there. So if you remember the term wash boats, that'll help you look around your engine and look for the fluids that you need to look at, okay? I'm going to show each one of these as a close-up at the end. Wash boats, okay? So the wash stands for your washer fluid. That's the fluid that goes in your here for your windshield wiper. And then B stands for your brake fluid. It's right over here on my car. That's what this is. You need to take a look at that, okay? So O stands for oil, okay? And here's your engine oil. You need to check that. And then A stands for antifreeze right here. It goes in here. It's also right here too. But you never want to ever open this when it's hot, okay? T stands for transmission fluid. And in this particular car, my transmission fluid is right here. S, which stands for your power steering fluid. My particular power steering fluid is right here. And you can see on the side whether it's full or not, okay? So I'm going to get a close-up of each of these, and then we'll wrap up. So here's the washer, right? The fluid that goes in for your windshield wiper. You just open that up, and you'd add some if you needed it. You'll be thankful that you checked this. If you're on a trip and you get mud thrown on your windshield, you'll be thankful that you remembered to check this. Okay? And this is my B. This is my brake fluid right here. Okay? And you can see on the side and tell you minimum and maximum. You want to make sure that has that's up to the max. I like to try to keep it, don't go over, but you need that for your brake fluid, for your brakes to work, because your brakes work with hydraulics, and so that fluid needs to be there so your brakes can work properly. The O, this stands for oil, and they're usually yellow, and then you just pull that out and check that. Okay, and this looks good. I have a video on that, but anyway, this is just for quick reference for things to look at, okay? This is the coolant, keeps your engine cool. It flushes water and antifreeze through, so that's the A. It stands for antifreeze. You want to double check that and make sure that has something in it too. Make sure that is, you just check the mark to make sure that has the proper amount of fluid in it. So this is also your coolant, okay? But you usually don't want to even touch this. Just leave this closed, and you'll use the other reservoir. That's what you want to keep an eye on, okay? And you especially don't want to open this when it's hot. And you can look right here on my particular engine is this red. I think you can see that. It says AT oil, automatic transmission oil, okay? So that's something you want to check when the engine's running. You pull it out and check it while it's running, okay? And that's the T in wash boats. And then this is the power steering fluid. It says it right on top of it, right? That's the S in boats. S, power steering, okay? And you look at that and you can see it on the side whether it's full or not. If not, you just open that up and add a little. That usually is good for the life of a vehicle, so you shouldn't have to mess with that. But if your steering's tough or something's wrong, you might want to take a look at that, and then you might have bigger problems, but at least that would give you a sense of what's going on.